Welcome back to Connecting Conversations with Carla and Evelkah.
Why'd you have to sing that?
I don't know. It just came out.
So cheesy.
And Happy New Year to everyone.
Happy New Year to everybody. Yeah, this is crazy. 2025. How do you feel about that?
I don't know. I haven't made up my mind about this year. This is possibly the first year I've literally don't feel like anything. I don't have any expectations. I haven't even done my goal setting on my plan or like what I want to accomplish for this year. I think partly because of that is, if you can hear my voice right now, people, I suffered from that horrible virus that was going around in December. So I'm still recovering from that. So I don't know if that played a part in it. But I genuinely am not on the hype of goal setting. I'm not in that go-getter mindset. I don't know why. But I'm starting to figure out, because the last couple of months of 2024 was so hectic and all my body, my mind was telling me to rest. So I always have like a theme for a year, and this year a theme is not coming to me as easily as the others.
Interesting.
Yeah, how do you feel?
It's a good question. I feel kind of like I'm not sitting here with tons of goals either, but there are just some inevitabilities that are happening.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, well, that's coming, so that's what it is.
Yeah.
I do think that I would like to, and I think it is important, and there is a reason behind people setting a tone, being mindful and intentional about how they want the year to go, because firstly, we're almost so close to the end of this first month of the year. It's running away, but like the idea, I think I'm still a person that's coming out of a bit of a mindset whereby life is just happening to me. Things, and we've probably touched on this in some of our previous episodes, and just really shifting what that looks like. Yeah, okay, there's some inevitable things happening this year, but also what am I doing intentionally about how I want to manage the experience of that? So I think what you're saying right now makes sense in terms of like, I can already feel like things are starting to slip, but actually I want to be conscious in taking the reins a little bit and just figuring out, well, actually, what do I really want whatever does come my way to look like? And I think there's a lot more control over that than maybe we give ourselves credit for. But it does mean that we have to make some decisions, and there's a work that we have to do about it.
Yeah, we don't just sit on our laurels and think everything's going to come to us. But for me, I'm also being gracious to myself that I don't have to have it all figured out within the first 2 weeks, within the first month of the year. Like, I do have, time to really sit on this and not be, quick to determine this is what I need to do. This is my what season I'm in. This is my word for the year, because it will take time. I think the last couple of years I was going through different transitions and transformations of myself, which those words and things that was happening was easier to hold on to. And I think because the last 2 years have been such a period of me evolving and transforming to a better person and making like some life changes and losing people and, seeing things in a whole different way, that this year I felt like, okay, it's not all about that anymore. So what more is it about? And I think that's why I'm probably struggling, because the other years I felt like I was preparing for something, and now I kind of feel like I've reached accomplished what I've been preparing for. What else is there to look forward to?
I think that's so fascinating, and I think there is so much value in what you're saying. People, I think, to acknowledge, like, I've been through a process of basically sounds like you've been shedding. Do you know what shedding? Okay, now that everything is shed, now what? And I wonder if, like, anyone that's coming across this conversation, is that something that resonates with you? Because what is the next step when, like, okay, a lot of the time we can't actually start on a journey. We can't start on that next dream or the next level of what our life is supposed to look like, the next stage of transformation, until you've shed the previous one. And from what you've just said there, I think that's so powerful. Like, sometimes that means there was transition about, moving from one working environment to another one, sometimes letting go of some friendships or relationships that really kind of, I don't want to say weren't serving me because I deserve to be served, but at the end of the day, if it's not building you, it's taking things away. And beginning to recognize and become really intentional about, like, I need to protect my circle space. are the people that I'm traveling with on this journey, it's a mutual contribution in a valuable way. I want them to be further ahead of me so I can push them further. And they got the idea like, come on, I want to take you on board because I can see that you've got the heart to drive further, and you've got your own ambitions to better yourself. Like, you've really come through that space.
Yeah. And now I just feel like it's just taken me a lot longer now to determine what that next phase of my life is going to look like. And I hope this is also reassuring for some people as well, is you don't have to have it all figured out. You know, there's a lot of pressure when it comes to the new year to, you know, have your goals set, you know, you would have
be productive.
Be productive.
Oh, I think that is the one. Be productive. Like, I've got all of this stuff to show for it. And I'm like, no.
I've been going through, and to be honest, I've been battling that like a lot, because there are moments where I would sit on my couch and I'm just like, I'm not being productive. I should be like setting my goals. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. And because I've been on that straight like period and journey for such a long time, I feel guilty for literally just chilling. And I feel like this is not productive. You know, even at the start of the year, I spent the new year on my own. Well, I went to church, but after that I spent it on my own. I spent the first couple of days, you know, in solitude, not in loneliness, but in solitude, really reflecting and taking in some much needed rest. But even during that period, I remember sitting on my couch and thinking, Evelkah, you're being so lazy, you're being so unproductive. I was battling in my head about these voices, how I needed to be doing something, because when I opened my phone, and this I probably shouldn't have done, I would see people saying, oh, you know, I'm starting this new gym class, or I'm doing this, or I've planned my goals, I know exactly what I'm doing this year. And I'm just like, I made it out of bed, I made it downstairs. So
and you say that, and I think a lot of people were feeling a little bit like what you just described. In some of the conversations I was having with some people, like, I didn't rest over that Christmas break or that end of year break. And I've always been someone that's been a strong proposer that actually it's not just the break because it's the Christmas season or festive season. You need a break from the year. And if you don't heed to actually resting, you will start your next wave or the next year really fully burnt out. And so many people saying like, I didn't take the time. I was just go. And then they've started January like, I'm maxed out already. And I still have 12 months to go.
I know. I've been speaking to some people as well, and they're just like, yeah, that holiday feels like centuries ago. And I'm just like, I didn't want to feel like that at the start of the year. I really wanted to take some much needed rest. And to be honest, my body signaled that to me with getting this silly virus. So I had no choice but to rest and try and recover. But even in that, I just felt so guilty. And I was battling this idea of productivity and what that actually means. And so when I was going on social media and I was seeing people doing this, and I was just like, I don't even know what my goals are for this year yet. Like, and I openly, what's today's date? It is the 18th of January, people. And I still don't have my goal set. So it's not a bad thing. And I'm trying to reassure myself, like, it's okay. Like, take some time. You don't want to rush into something and then fail, or you don't want to make a plan without really sitting on it and praying about
really the right thing for you.
Yeah, and I think this year I've been going through this idea that, and I said this to someone the other day, maybe my word for the year isn't as, glamorous as my other year themes have been, but I've been really reflecting on this word of rest and taking stock. Maybe something simple as rest should be my year, because I felt like last year I was on 100 miles an hour, and now this year I'm really trying to focus on doing things a lot slower and taking my time and not rushing into things. And funnily enough, the company that I work with in my day job, want their theme for this year is do less better. And I'm just like, wow, if this isn't a signal to tell me I need to slow down, I don't know what is. And so I've been really reflecting on that at the moment and trying to figure out, okay, how do I be nicer and kinder to myself when it comes to goal setting, when it comes to figuring what I want from this year and figuring how to serve or what I need to do and places I need to be within and communities, and then looking forward from there and not having to feel like I have to have it all figured out, by the 31st of January or else I'm far behind. Because we know how society and social media can make you feel like you're further behind than you really are. I don't know if that resonates with you, or kind of what have you been thinking about this year?
I think it's wild that you're talking about like the whole theme of the year possibly is something as unglamorous but super poignant as rest, because this is something that actually people really close to me in my circle are saying that's what this year is about.
Oh, really?
So I find this wild that it's just matching up. People from different parts of my life are saying something similar, and like, actually, why not lean into that? And when I think about this concept of rest, people are like, but I can rest when I'm dead.
Yeah.
And the way that the world is going is just like, being tired is not going to make my goals achieved. Being tired or like me resting is not going to get the stuff to my destination or my goals faster. And where I understand that, I'm just like, but what about being so fueled up because you have taken the opportunity for rest that you were actually able to achieve your goals in shorter space of time?
Yeah.
But that would be a complete oxymoron of kind of the way that we see that the culture will narrate that. The other element that I was thinking about what you were saying is like, what does rest really mean? Rest does not necessarily mean that you're sitting there literally being idle.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think this is actually maybe more of a, like, if we, to really take an examination, it's resting is also leaning into a bit more of, I think, security and understanding of oneself.
Yeah, yeah.
And when I say that, I will try and elaborate on the context of that by saying, like, I'm going to rest in the knowledge of my sense of self-awareness, where we've taken the time to really understand, okay, these are my strengths, these are my weaknesses. How am I going to make sure that I am not the obstacle in my own way to get to my next step? That's going to take that element of resting. Because if people are insecure about it, not facing it, they're going to end up falling over that same hurdle, or they're going to be running into brick walls because they can't get out of their own way.
Yeah, yeah.
The other element of rest is just like, sometimes it's resting in the fact I don't have it all together, or I don't have everything. And when you rest in that, that means like I can take a moment to stop, reflect, be objective. Who are the people around me that actually have got the tools? Because no one gets to their destination as an island.
Yeah, correct.
But if I'm not in that place of rest and I'm striving and I'm not paying attention, reading the room, understanding my season of where things are at, who is around me, what should we be doing in partnership together? Yeah. Again, another opportunity to probably propel even further than if I was just going, and not resting in taking the space to acknowledge those realities. So what you're saying, I think, is really powerful, and maybe something that I'm going to adopt right now just in this conversation, because I haven't thought about it this year. Like I said, I feel like there's some inevitabilities happening this year.
Yeah.
But being actually a bit more conscientious about, like, intentional about how am I going to approach that? Maybe this is that way for me. Resting in like, okay, I'm here. These things are happening this year. But also, as much as like it's so new, you can't plan for it. You can't.
I was just about to
there's
say.
no training for this thing. But at the end of the day, like I'm also aware of who I am at this season of my life. Who is in my circle? What do I want that to look like? What are the things that I can do in my control?
Yeah.
And that will take a moment of stopping, resting in it, and understanding, like, these are what I have. This is what I don't have. So what can I do about that?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think this is why it's so important to take some time to really, reflect internally, reflect on the previous year, because I think Christmas is not a time where, people actually have downtime, because everyone's running around getting gifts, being around family. Where do you actually have space to be on your own or really kind of reflect on the year if you are on the go most of the time? So I don't actually think towards the end of the year many people actually have the time or mental capacity to think about what's happening or how the years went. I think, and I'm not saying this to be kind of everyone's plan, but I think the first couple of months in the year is where you really try and reflect on the year, reflect on what you've done, reflect on some of the things that you've accomplished but also didn't accomplish. This is probably the best time to do that reflection, and then then it helps in terms of the planning. And so I think people rush to be like, on the 1st of January, I'll be in the gym. On the 1st of January, I'm going to start my saving. And, I'm not saying those things are horrible or they're bad.
They're still good aspirations.
And I'm not saying that you shouldn't be doing that. but you shouldn't have to feel pressured into having things ready on the 1st of Jan, 12 o'clock a.m. Like, there is no pressure. The world and society and social media will have you believing like you have to have it all figured out. And as we know in life in general, you don't have to. Like, it's okay to, take some time to look at things on a holistic level, so you don't fall and make the same mistakes again. Because as we know, with plenty of goals, people set them at the start of the year, but come February, March, halfway through the year, you sit there and be like, well, I haven't actually accomplished anything.
And then it becomes to a point where that can be so disparaging that you've lost momentum to do anything. Because in that moment, I think a lot of the time, even now, I will set myself like a list of tasks, but I may get through like maybe about 3 or 4 of those tasks in the day. And the more tasks you set, the more you and I've heard this before of other people that are super influential. This is not an original from me. Like, you lose a sense of trust in yourself. Like, if you feel like I've set these goals and I don't meet them, you feel like I can't trust myself.
Yeah.
And I think it's about being realistic. It's about setting things that are attainable. Like, I'm going to set myself 5 potential goals.
Yeah.
And my target is to make sure that I do done and dusted 3 of them in the day. The other 2 are bonus, and they will just roll over to maybe tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I think that is also maybe something to consider about how we're approaching when we're doing our goal setting. What's realistic? What am I still going to have the sense of like being kind to myself, but also I'm going to push myself because there's more that I'm capable of doing, but what does that balance look like? And that is another sense of self-assessment to do. And I guess that's going to go into the conversations of, am I really self-aware of what I am? Where's my capacity today?
Yeah.
Am I really honest with, could I really have done that? What did I choose to do with my time instead? So right now we're doing this almost kind of a bit like a fast as a family.
Yeah.
Some people do food. People might relate to this when they hear things like Lent, but we're doing this at the start of the year.
Yeah.
Some people do food. Other people do things like social media. I've done television. And I'm just like, the reason being is there's nothing wrong with television. Everybody loves that, Netflix and whatever streaming availability that's around now, which is wild because it's so overwhelming. You can probably spend like an hour choosing a program before you're doing something.
I know.
But just think about how much, and they're like, do a binge thing. Like, that means we're sitting probably in front of a TV for 2 weeks out of our, 2 weeks, just watching up to 7-8 hours of the stuff every day because you want to get through the series, and it's addictive. Like, it doesn't get us productive. And that's something that, like, for me, I was just like, I need to not let this be kind of a consumer-based way of nature of living. And a lot of our life is kind of set up like that in this modern world. And again, there is absolute use for time I do love a good film because I'm a storyteller, but that's a different thing than having this on. So for me, I will have it in the background. I'm like, yeah, I'm working. It's just white noise. But actually, I do know, like, if you were to do focus work in half an hour, I could probably get about 2 hours work done that I would have done with that thing in the background. So this whole fast period has been about, like, if I get rid of this, what else am I really seeing? Like, the truth of who I am, how I use my time, and what my life looks like. If I'm unhappy with it, have I really done what it takes to make sure that I've set it up in a way that at least is going in that direction? And removing this thing that is quite consuming is been like a big eye opener. This week was so tough. Oh my gosh.
To be honest,
I just wanted to watch a film this week like never before. But in the same breath, I've also, like, I've got back into reading now. It's so, and I'm a, like, so my first degree is English, and so I've loved books my whole life, and obviously I love words, and what we do with our work is all based around that stuff. But, like, time to read, because I don't have time for that. I'm like, actually, I do. And also, my cerebral engagement through a book is so much more productive for my brain and my well-being than probably sitting in front of a consuming program. And that's, I'm just like, I love this. I am eating my books. I'm also listening to more podcasts. What is feeding me, adding more value than something that's just taking away more time, if that makes sense?
To be honest, I did consider giving up TV. I wasn't, but unfortunately that didn't work out. When you're ill and you just want to sit there and do nothing,
that's a different vibe. I feel that.
But I did consider giving up TV. Funnily, you said that because I was just like, yeah, because my plan was to do a fast, but then after getting ill, I couldn't not do that food and so on and so forth. So I said, you know what, I'll give up TV because I've been consuming a lot of TV. And then the sickness just decided it's going to last longer than
And
expected.
I think when you're on your own, that's tough.
It's so tough. Like you feel like you need that kind of entertainment or background noise
soothing.
or soothing. Yeah. So I'm still considering of what to give up right now. It's taken some time. Everything's just taken a lot of time this year. I don't know why, but I'm just flowing into the year instead of rushing into it. And I think for me, that's how I want to set the tone for the year, because last year I remember, at the very start of the year, I was, planning some stuff. I had some things lined up. I was, embarking on new opportunities. And this year I'm just like, I just need a break from all of that and just, do the things that I currently have access to, the opportunities, do them well enough. Like last year I was privileged to do a lot, but now it's a time, okay, we now need to do them better. Like instead of taking on more tasks, how can I work on the tasks I have well enough to
mastering them
and being able to create like sustainable growth with them. And I think that for me, that's what I'm looking towards this year to be more of, instead of trying to find like, start something completely new. But also in terms of going back to what you said around goal setting, a couple of years back, I decided to change the way in which I was goal setting. And I felt like it worked really well for me. And it was all about looking at making sure it's attainable, making sure that there are smart goals and stuff like that. But what was really important in a way that I now decided to plan my goals, and this could be some advice for some people out there, is I would list out my goals according to different areas of my life. So from, career, business, health-wise, relationships, because a lot of people think that relationships is something that we just do automatically.
Nope.
They're a lot of work, I've now realized. Finances and, personal development. So I split all of them according to the different areas of my life. And then I've given myself a minimum of 3 goals per area. Because,
that's great. Yeah.
Like you rightly said, instead of trying to do 5 things, I have 3 things per area that I know
over a year.
It gives me space to work on.
Yeah, for sure.
And from those 3 goals per area, I then break them down into actionable steps. So for instance, one of my areas in personal development was to go to the gym more and stuff like that. So I put out, I'll go to the gym 3 to 4 times a week. I will eat healthier. I would drink X amount of water. And these are things, when you actually sit down and think about it, they're so easy to do. I think when we think about goals, we think, about the bigger picture. And whilst I agree that it's great, and, I have nothing against vision boards. I love vision boards. I actually make them on behalf, like afterwards. But I also think about, when I see certain goals, I get so overwhelmed because I really want to achieve them, but I haven't put set plans or things that already is in my control that I can change and work towards.
Or just pivot, really.
And pivot, because, okay, if I don't go to the gym 3 times this week, I know, I'll go to the gym twice next week, but I'll go for a walk instead. Being flexible within my goals. So even if when I look at the end of the year and I say, actually, I didn't do all of this, but I actually, when I go on a scale, I'm where I wanted to be, or when, I may not go on, do my 10,000 steps, but I feel a lot healthier in the way I am. And, I'm still going out a lot more, even if it's not 10,000, I'm hitting 7,000. So when I look at the end of the year, I say to myself, okay, I may not have done every single thing, but I've made room for me to even go above and beyond that thing, because I wasn't restricted. And I think for me, when I did actually review my 2024 goals, and I was quite pleased with some of them, but things that weren't even on the list and I had accomplished, I was just like, oh my gosh. But one thing that I realized, even in that method of goal setting, was I wasn't doing this to just achieve a goal. I was doing this to be a better person and to change who I am. The thing that I realized between the start of the year and the end of the year is my mindset has shifted dramatically.
Wow.
And when we are setting goals, and I was speaking to someone about this actually, because they were also being a little bit frustrated. And I said, yes, it's great to set goals and you can do all of this, but remember, you're on a journey of transforming who you are. So even if you don't hit all of your goals at the end of the year, have you become a better person? Has your mindset shifted? Have you, achieved?
Is change identifiable?
Yeah, like, have you realized you've made more progress than you even thought you could do or you would have done? And I think that is important when it comes to goal setting. Yes, have goals, and yes, plan for things, but remember, ultimately, the thing that's changing is you, and not necessarily, everything else. And I think that's, for me, that's what I've learned through that period of goal setting, is I've become a better person than I was.
And I think that's a wrap right there.
So if anyone's listening and you want to take that 100%. Approach, follow that, see how you get on, and I can assure you, like, life will be so different than what you thought or ever could imagine. And I think you realize that you actually become a better person.
I mean, if this is how we're starting the year, guys, you might want to stay tuned as to what else comes out of these conversations.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
But we should also mention that this year we're also changing the way we are releasing our podcasts and stuff like that. Do you want to tell them what our new schedule and how things are going to be this year?
Well, hopefully that we've set, I think, a really good taster to titillate everybody with what we did consistently last year. We had some incredible speakers. We had some incredible events take place.
Yeah.
Growth in terms of what we are evolving as an organisation, and what is our drive for impact. We've lent more into the culture engagement, which we think is just down the line something that is just so much more relatable to the organizations, whether it's in education or in the professional business realm, that everybody wants to tap into. And that is ongoing transformation. And that is really, like you've heard today, a lot of where we are in terms of our aspirations in bringing that kind of impact and support to people.
Yeah.
So with all that in mind, to focus more on making more of our impact, we are going to still be consistent. Brace yourself for some great conversation. We've already got some amazing conversations in the bank already lined up with some really wonderful people that have done so much in their journey, and still more to come. Is we will not release as frequently as it was, rather than about every week, it's going to be bi-weekly. And it'll be a variety of both Evelkah and I as your main focus, but also some people that have just had some journeys that I think just command attention because of what they've endured, what they have achieved, and just like what Evelkah said today, they've been transformed as people. And that's the real value we want to tap into, because everybody's story brings so much value. 100%. And we're here to amplify that on Connecting Conversation. So brace yourself for that this year. Come with expectancy. And I don't think you're going to be disappointed.
No, I don't. So yes, just to reiterate what Carla said, we will be releasing bi-weekly, just to give us both time to work on the impact and the projects that we're doing internally at Cohesia Connect. But, we'll still come with really exciting and intriguing conversations. So be prepared.
Can't wait to see you in 2025.
See you.